What is going on, guys? My name is Taylor Stuber, and I'm here to break down this 4-game NBA slate on Draftkings and PrizePicks.com. If you guys are new here, welcome. If you guys are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Let's run up the likes. Let's try to get to over 7 likes today. That's the goal of the day. No, it's Tuesday. Not many of you guys are going to be playing since it's only 4 games. But if you guys could like the video, would greatly appreciate it. And if you have any questions at all, make sure to comment down below. You can comment anything down below because that helps out the algorithm. But yeah, have a lot of good plays to give away. With it only being 4 games, you would imagine there's not much to talk about. But there is a ton of injury news that we're not going to get until around lock and even beyond that. So I will be live streaming at 5 p.m. Central Time, like I do every single day, a full hour before lock, breaking down all the latest breaking news, as well as answering as many questions as I possibly can in that time frame. If you guys want to know exactly what I'm playing on FanDuel, DraftKings, and PrizePicks every single day, make sure to join my Patreon. That is linked down below in the description, as well as the pinned comment. $25 a month. I think it's a pretty damn good deal. If you guys want to enter my free Discord, that is also linked in the description and pinned comment down below. Let's just jump right into this. So we will start off with the Miami Heat versus the Detroit Pistons at 207 over under. The Heat are currently 10-point favorites. The Heat are going to be without Victor Oladipo, Markieff Morris, and then Duncan Robinson and Marcus Garrett are both questionable. I think there's a pretty good chance that Duncan Robinson actually misses this game. And as we've seen throughout the entirety of this season so far, Max Strus has pretty much been a one-for-one replacement for Duncan Robinson. They come in and off the court at for each other at all times, and they run the same exact plays for Max Strus as they do for Duncan Robinson. So we're getting essentially a $3,100 Duncan Robinson if Robinson were to miss this game. I'm expecting Strus to start, play around 30 minutes, but I do not expect him to close this game out. If Robinson does end up missing this game, surely Tyler Hero is going to close out both these halves as long as the game is competitive. It is a 10-point spread currently, but with the team being pretty healthy with Jimmy Butler, Adebayo, Lowry, and Hero, I'm not really considering any of these guys tonight, despite it being a relatively good matchup against Detroit Pistons. It will be a very slow-paced game, so given why the over-under is at 207 points, move over to the Detroit Pistons. Killian Hayes, Kelly Olynyk, and then Isaiah Stewart, for whatever reason, is out today. Corey Joseph started in place of Killian Hayes last game, ended up playing 39 minutes, so I think he's squarely in play today. I know it is a very tough matchup against the Miami Heat, but given how many minutes he should be playing, even through 3 quarters, and he is still sub 4K, I think he is definitely in play here. One of the better value plays as of right now. Of course, there's a lot of injuries that's potentially going to open up even better value plays. And then Isaiah Stewart, with him being out, when he was ejected last game, we saw them close with Jeremy Grant at the 5 against Anthony Davis, and I think this is a pretty similar situation against an undersized center in Bam Adebayo. So I think we end up seeing a lot of Jeremy Grant at the 5, whether or not they start Luka Garza at the 5. I don't think so. They didn't play Garza at all last game, and it was actually Frank Jackson who entered the closing lineup with Jeremy Grant at the 5, playing and closing the last 16 minutes of that game. So I think Frank Jackson is definitely in play. Prefer Corey Joseph as well, but with this being the first game of the slate, we'll see the starting lineup beforehand. And if you think this game does stay close enough down to the end where they don't lose fourth quarter minutes, I think Cade Cunningham is probably a little bit too cheap. Move over to the Los Angeles Lakers versus the New York Knicks. A 213.5 over under. The Knicks are currently 6-point favorites. The Lakers are going to be without LeBron James, Kendrick Nunn, Trevor Ariza, Austin Reeves, and then Anthony Davis is now questionable. So Anthony Davis has pretty much been questionable or probable every single day with this thigh issue, but now this is a new injury, I guess, with an illness that popped up this morning. So I think that there is a pretty good chance that he actually ends up missing this game. We saw him miss a couple games ago due to him being sick as well, where he was throwing up in the locker room right before the game. Then he ended up getting scratched, or he scratched right after the game started. So yeah, Anthony Davis, if he does play, I think is the best spend up option on the entire slate at 10,900. If he were to miss this game, Russell Westbrook would become the top pay up option on the entire slate. And then Talon Horton-Tucker, with or without Anthony Davis, is an absolute core piece for me. If Anthony Davis is ruled out, then he becomes an even better play. But just a quick rundown, if Anthony Davis is ruled out, which I think there is a pretty good chance he does, and given that it's AD, and but this game starts only 30 minutes after lock, so we should know before lock. And so if he were to be ruled out, Westbrook, Talon Horton-Tucker, Carmelo Anthony would become pretty much core pieces for me. And then Dwight Howard and DeAndre Jordan would likely split all 48 center minutes. You know, they could give some run to Carmelo Anthony at the 5, but I think it's majority going to be Dwight Howard and DeAndre Jordan down there. They typically only play one stint per half, with Anthony Davis playing the rest of the minutes at the 5. But if you take AD off the court, obviously that is going to open up some more minutes for Dwight and DeAndre Jordan, and they are both very, very good per minute producers. Also get a very good matchup against the New York Knicks, who are not quite the same defense as they were last year. Move over to the New York Knicks. Mitchell Robinson, Taj Gibson are both out. Derrick Rose is questionable. We saw Mitchell Robinson and Taj Gibson miss last game, and oh, my music turned off. And Nerlens Noel ended up starting in his place and played 26 minutes, and while Julius Randle played the rest of the center minutes for the most part. Jericho Sims got into one rotation in the first half, but that is the extent of that. So I think Nerlens Noel at 4,200 in a pretty decent matchup against the Lakers. Lakers have been pretty awful on defense so far this year. Is in a good spot regardless of how many minutes he plays. I'm expecting him to play, you know, around 26, 28 minutes in this game. And then if we get word that Derrick Rose were to miss this game, which I think there's a good chance with him being a veteran and him dealing with this injury, I think Kemba Walker would become one of the best point per dollar plays on the entire slate. Not only is it a great matchup against the Los Angeles Lakers, but we know very well, if you guys watch my videos at all, that Kemba Walker and Derrick Rose split all 48 of those point guard minutes. Whoever gets the lion's share of the minutes absolutely destroys their price tag. And if you take Derrick Rose out of the equation, Kemba Walker is probably going to play 30 plus minutes in this game, while Alec Burks and Emmanuel quickly pick up the rest of the minutes. So really need to wait on the news on Derrick Rose. And then I think Nerlens Noel is squarely in play. And then RJ Barrett at 5,600, I'm not that interested in him on Draftkings or FanDuel, but over here on PrizePicks, he is at 24.5 fantasy points. I just think this is very, very low. I already posted it on the Patreon. If you guys want to tail this, make sure to sign up and use code TAYLOR, TAYLOR, for a 100% match bonus up to $100. I also did just get word they're running some pretty crazy deals this Tuesday and today and Thursday, so be on the watch out for that. I'll let you guys know in the Discord when those things do pop up, but I do like the over on RJ Barrett, 24.5 fantasy points. That just seems entirely too low to me. If this game is competitive, he's going to play low 30s minutes and should easily be able to pay off the score. And on top of that, you know, he has been clamping opposing guards, and without LeBron James, Russell Westbrook is going to have the ball in his hand an absolute ton today, and we know Westbrook likes to turn the ball over, so a steal upside is very, very high for RJ Barrett here. And on PrizePicks, you get 3 full fantasy points per steal, so I think this is a very good opportunity to take the over on RJ Barrett. Move over to the Denver Nuggets versus the Portland Trailblazers at 214 over under. The Trailblazers are currently 6.5 point favorites. The Nuggets are going to be without Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, Zeke Naji, Bones Highland, and then Nikola Jokic is questionable. The line at 6.5 point favorites for the Trailblazers, it leads me to believe that Jokic will likely sit again. There is some very vague wording on the extent of Jokic's injury a couple days ago before their last game. He ended up being a game time decision last game, but after warming up, they decided not to play him. I think there is a good chance that he misses this game. If he does miss this game, the usual suspects of Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Monty Morris, Jeff Green, JaMychal Green all become much, much better plays. And then I will be making note of this if they are to be ruled out, or if Jokic is to be ruled out or ruled in. I'll come over here and take advantage of Jeff Green, Monty Morris, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Because they did get blown out last game without Jokic. That was against the Phoenix Suns, which is a 9-day difference than the Portland Trailblazers, especially this year. Portland has been very, very poor defensively, offensively. I mean, it just have not been very good. So I could expect this game to be competitive. Again, the line is only at 6.5. It might balloon to like 7.5, 8 points if Jokic were to be ruled out. But I still think that Jokic probably gets ruled out, and then these guys end up taking advantage of it. But I'm going to wait until we get the Jokic news. I have my alerts on. Going to come over here to Prize Picks and take the overs on guys like Will Barton, Jeff Green specifically. But if Jokic is healthy, I think Jokic becomes one of the best plays on the entire slate. He's out with a wrist injury, so I'm sure his conditioning is fine right now. Obviously, averages over 1.8 fantasy points per minute since the beginning of last year with no Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. on the court, so he would be a very good play in his own right. But I'm assuming this is going to head down to a game time decision, and this starts 3 hours after lock. So if you guys are trying to get a piece of Nikola Jokic, he's going to be extremely low owned, but just know that it is very, very risky if you're expecting him to play, because yeah, like I said, it's heading down to a game time decision likely. Move over to the Portland Trailblazers. They have no injuries right now. The Denver's defense has been very, very good this year, but that is mainly due to Nikola Jokic. You take Nikola Jokic off the court, they become a much more suspect defense that you can take advantage of for sure. But I'm really not interested in all that many of these guys, considering that everybody is healthy and they're not dealing with any injuries. Damian Lillard is fine at 9,600. And then Yusuf Nurkic, I mean, the Trailblazers have been very, very willing to play small and run Larry Nance Jr. when closing these games out at the 5. If Jokic were to be ruled out, I think there is a very good chance that Larry Nance Jr. Plays a ton of minutes at the 5, and he would become one of the best plays at 3,600. If Jokic is starting, I think we see a bit more of Yusuf Nurkic, and then Larry Nance would no longer become a play. So the status of Nikola Jokic actually determined what I want on the Portland Trailblazers side when it comes to Yusuf Nurkic and Larry Nance Jr. Move over to the last game of the slate, the Dallas Mavericks versus the Los Angeles Clippers. A 210 over under. The Clippers are currently 5.5 point favorites. The Mavericks are going to be without Frank Ntilikina, and the Luka Doncic is questionable. It looked like Luka was close to being active last game, headed down to a game time decision. He's been in scrimmages, so I'm expecting him to play here. And with him playing potentially, even if he is limited, they have priced everybody else up as if he is out. So if he is in any capacity, it kills the value of absolutely everybody else on this team. So I'm not really considering anybody here. If he were to be ruled out, I think Kristaps and Jalen Brunson are both in good spots. Tim Hardaway Jr. would be more of a secondary play, but they are priced appropriately at $85 and $7,300. So nothing I am too keen on getting to. Again, I'm focusing mostly on this Los Angeles Lakers team and then getting my pieces elsewhere. Move over to the Los Angeles Clippers. Nicholas Batum, Kawhi Leonard, Jason Preston are all out. Marcus Morris is expected to return today and would likely slide back into the starting lineup for Batum. I know Coffee started for Batum last game, so I'm expecting Coffee to slide back to the bench. With Marcus Morris entering the starting lineup, I don't think he's going to be playing at his full capacity, much like we've seen from Serge Ibaka. Serge Ibaka played 12.5 minutes last game after coming back from the G League. He's slowly going to get back into the rotation. Serge being back absolutely kills Isaiah Hartenstein's role, so he is no longer in play. Really just focusing in on Paul George up top from this team, and that's pretty much it. I mean, Zubac is fine, but with Marcus Morris being back, it gives them more of a chance to run small ball, because that is their ultimate small ball lineup with Marcus Morris at the 5, and then Serge Ibaka is going to start eating into his minutes as well. And then Hartenstein's been playing very well too, so they might try to give him 1 or 2 stints a game as well. So really focusing on Paul George up top at 10,300. And then I think his projection over on PrizePicks is just abysmally low at 43 fantasy points. So I like the over Paul George 43 fantasy points paired with the over RJ Barrett 24.5 fantasy points. And make sure to wait out for some news, because I'm telling you, the number one way of taking advantage over on PrizePicks is just downloading the board in your mind, looking at the injury report, and being prepared for all things to happen, because if Anthony Davis were to be ruled out, then Carmelo Anthony would likely enter the starting lineup, and they would also be without LeBron James. So Carmelo Anthony at over 22.5 fantasy points would be a near lock for me. If Nikola Jokic is ruled out, Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, Monte Morris, Jeff Green, their overs become very, very strong plays as well. And then of course, if Luka Doncic is ruled out, the likelihood of Kristaps Porzingis, Jalen Brunson, Hardaway Jr., and Dorian Finney-Smith hitting their overs is a lot more likely as well. So make sure to monitor that situation. And honestly, if Luka ends up playing, maybe monitor the under on Jalen Brunson 34 fantasy points, because I'm hard pressed to believe that he would hit that with Luka and Kristaps Porzingis healthy. So I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you guys watched to the end, make sure to comment down below. Always interested to see who's sticking around to the very end. Again, I will be live streaming at 5 p.m. Central Time, a full hour before lock. Appreciate you guys being here. Best of luck tonight, and until next time, peace.